Honestly, it's been a while. It's pretty tight. Oh wow, look at this. We've got napkins too. There's drinks being chilled at the side.
Oh my goodness, look at this.
Look at the glistening pie.
It really
You
is
were right.
glistening.
Liv, would you like water or lemonade?
I'm gonna have water at this point. Thank you.
Here you go.
So I just, want to start again by thanking all of you for sharing your time and your stories, because I realize that this is a very vulnerable position to be in. And some of these stories have maybe never been told to anyone but me at this point. So as you can see, this is sort of a roadmap, this menu. So we're going to start, each person's going to go around and do just a little introduction so we feel a little more comfortable. So Nora, do you want to start?
Sure. My name is Nora Scott Weber for the full name. I'm 21 and I'm from Hadley, Massachusetts.
Susan Bender, 72 years old, a retired Skidmore professor. I was an archaeologist and taught Native American archaeology here.
Sam Dussman. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm 22. I keep wanting to say 21, but yeah, no, I'm 22.
So with the salad, I've arranged for Sam to start telling some of his stories.
Oh. Oh
You
my
see what
gosh,
I
I
did?
get it.
Yeah.
I can't believe I put chicken on my plate.
You guys,
so
it's
disappointed
okay.
in
That's
myself.
totally
Okay.
fine.
We're so ready.
It's totally fine. I want it to feel as organic as possible while also having a script.
Yeah, I gotcha. So interesting thing that I guess I discovered about myself while I was relaying these stories to Liv was that all of them surrounded my relationship with women in my life. I did a lot of theater in high school, mostly musical theater, but a lot of straight plays too. And my sophomore year, I had to do a stage kiss scene. This is like a classic for anybody who did theater in high school, I feel like. Humiliating story, but I didn't know really like what was involved with that. Because it was like student directed, I didn't get any direction for like how you're supposed to do this kind of a thing on stage, so I was just gonna wing it. And I was like running through options in my head for like how to hold my body, where to put my hands, what to do with my mouth. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to just do like a peck or if that wouldn't look good on stage. So you were supposed to go like all the way with like mouth open and everything. So in the heat of the moment when we were rehearsing this one afternoon, I just went for like an in-between with regards to my mouth for whether or not it should be open or closed. So I just kind of did like a little kind of thing, like tongue sandwiched between my lips. Not that much tongue, like a, you know? Stupid in retrospect. Why not just ask which would have been preferred? But that's been a wonderful part of getting older as I'm more comfortable speaking about those kinds of things with people. I do like thinking back on that story. I think what made it particularly humiliating was just seeing the reaction from her, that she thought it was much more of a me coming on to her kind of thing and much less of a mistake. And that's the part that stuck with me and felt particularly bad, and why I would say it was humiliating as opposed to anything else. Do-do-do. We're in. Do I look like an Olympic fencer or something? Yeah.
It feels like I don't even know, like a yoga move, kind of, but more violent. Did you ever like really embarrass yourself in what's the term? You already told me. Yeah.
When I almost got a black card, that was pretty embarrassing.
What happened?
I just used to get super emotional with the game. And so I lost a bout that I didn't want to lose. And I like screamed and like threw my blade down. After that day, I stopped emoting at all in fencing. I just turned my emotions off for the sport.
So it's really a battle of the wits.
Yeah. It actually is a mind game.
Oh, that was close. It wasn't that close.
You parry first.
What is parrying again?
Just
Like that?
extend
Uh-huh.
real quick without leaning. You just
Oh. You got me. Like that, but lower down.
Yeah. Just like that. And again, try to do it without leaning.
Oh.
That was a perfect hit. We'll end on that one.
Yay! Ugh.
And then you shake hands. Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. I'll shake the. At that point, would be like wet fencing glove.
So whenever you're ready, do you want to go into some of what we talked about?
Sure. And I think I might need some prompt.
I loved the Christmas.
I thought I would
story.
start with a Christmas
Yeah.
because, like Sam, it's the earliest memory of humiliation that I have. I think for me, a lot of the humiliating moments have to do with knowing, being in control of a knowledge base. And when I'm not, I experience that as deeply humiliating. And that's, of course, not surprising given my profession, or my former profession, I guess I should say. No, I'll always be an archaeologist and a professor, so there you have it. I was, I think in the upper levels of grade school, 4th to 6th grade, something like that. And there was going to be a church Christmas pageant. Part of the frame for the story is that I was telling Liv, one of these really annoying kids that always had to do everything perfectly and get all A's on everything, and everything had to be like, I had to excel at whatever I did, right? The students from our Sunday school class were supposed to recite a series of passages from one of the Gospels, and I think it was Mark, the Christmas story. My father was the teacher of the Sunday school class, and so he did. So he chose the 4 or 5 students that were supposed to recite, and I was not one of them because he didn't want to show favoritism toward me. So that immediately made me feel, what do you mean? I'm always chosen for these things, A day and a half before the Christmas pageant, parents called my dad, said, "So sorry, Mr. Bender, but Johnny can't do this." And my father had an opening, and there I was, conveniently. "So, I have a job for you." So suddenly I was in the pageant, just like I always wanted to be. I, crammed this passage for, 24 hours. And I thought I had it down pat. I knew it. I was fine. So evening of the Christmas pageant comes. So I got all dressed up in my Christmas dress. I still remember it. It was like a white wool dress with red bric-a-brac trim on it, and me and the other reciters get up on this little tiered dais from which we would speak the gospel as other kids in Sunday school classes, played Being Mary, Joseph, the wise men, all of that. And then it comes my turn, and I recite the first two lines of my selection passage, and you see what's coming. Blank, totally blank. I had nothing. And my father, in his wisdom, expected all of us to just know it. There's a reason why I was a perfectionist. The whole hall was silent, waiting for something. It was horrible. To this day, all I remember is this sense of just wanting to melt and disappear and just sort of like be gone. And I have no idea how I got out of that moment. All I know is that I remember standing there, just sort of this sense of humiliation, maybe even shame passing through me while everybody else said their lines perfectly. And the play came to the end, and then we got down off of the dais to be greeted by family and friends, and I just sort of burst into tears.
Did your father say anything afterwards that stuck out to you, or was he like sympathetic to the?
You know, I don't really know what my father did. He didn't scold me, I know that, because if he'd scolded me, that would have been the end. So that was my first major sense of what it feels like to be humiliated. Yeah. What do you think, Bertie? Huh? So this is my most recent finished project. I get a cup of coffee and I sit with my needlework, and I listen to NPR, and I'm alternately outraged or overjoyed.
So where are we beginning in this corner?
We're going to begin in this corner, and we're going to fill in this little black space here.
Okay.
You do a diagonal. See how all these stitches are on the diagonal?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Here then?
Yeah.
Right there?
Here. No.
Oh, so where do I go in here?
Okay.
Right there.
Yeah.
That one?
No.
Oh, this one.
No, right.
There?
Right under the light.
Great.
All right. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Right here?
No. Oh.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll show you how to, you'll never get it that way.
So. Right here?
Oh,
no, above it.
Yeah.
No. Is that right? No. This is wrong.
But I'll let you make the mistake, and then you'll figure out what went wrong. Okay.
It looks so simple.
Yes,
There
there
we
you go. I may just leave it in there.
Wow.
And I did learn it from a very fancy lady.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Who is she?
She was the mother of a student that I taught when I first got out of college.
Okay.
I taught elementary school children in a private school in Philadelphia.
Did you ever feel sort of out of your element or kind of embarrassed in any degree when you were working with the woman in Philadelphia? Was she?
Yeah, because her background was such. I mean, she was very kind but I felt this is not me, particularly because it was the early 70s, so right after the 60s, and I'd been a very active anti-war protagonist, hippie, long hair, love beads, sandals, and it felt like a very identity challenging that I'm sitting with this elegant woman learning. Wait a minute, no, I'm an anti-war activist. I should be out on the streets. Right. I shouldn't be here doing war.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's great.
Just pull it out.
And just pull it out.
Wow. And we just cut the tail?
Yes.
Look at that.
Look at that.
It's done.
I think so.
I have a hard time thinking of humiliating stories because when I am humiliated, it's kind of like a shame thing, and it's internal rather than like a funny moment. It's like something that I feel like I wish I hadn't said or wish I hadn't done. And then I like feel ashamed about it and have to work on it internally rather than like an external haha moment. But my probably most humiliating haha moment, I was a junior in high school, 17, feeling like a queen. I had recently broken up with, or gotten dumped by my, gotten dumped pretty solidly.
Different.
Different. With my like first long-term boyfriend. I went to a school of 16, my class was 16, and we had this like big lobby where everyone could congregate and like hang out. And me and my ex-boyfriend are in the same friend group. We're now great friends, but at the time it'd been like a couple months, and so I was like really trying to be cool and like chill, and you know, like we could be pals, and that he hadn't ripped my heart out. And he was like standing in the lobby. Everyone was sitting in that room. And I like walked confidently across the hall because I said something and like went to like fist bump him and slipped on a coat and fell right on my ass in front of Actually, the entire school, which was a small audience, but felt large. And the like added humiliation to that is that I have brittle bones, and so, which is fine, but me falling is like kind of a big deal, and everyone knew this about me, and they were all like, oh my god, like she's shattered all of her bones. It's a condition called osteogenesis imperfecta, and it means a couple different things, the most prominent of which is that I have brittle bones. And so my bone density is really low, and I do break. Like, I broke on a class trip in 10th grade, and like my class was there and witnessed it, and so it's always like a bit of a there's like this surge to like see if I was okay, and nothing was broken except for my pride. But it was fine. It worked out in the end. It took me a minute to get over it, though. Yeah. We're gonna get some of these. Some of these. And it's my favorite because it's lightweight and small, and the glaze turned out really nicely. So it just kind of, it just sits there being a bowl, and I appreciate that. This is my other favorite, matches my bowl. They could be a set. Well, I think I'll make a cylinder. We're gonna call it a cup.
All right, Nora. Well, we could do like a Patrick Swayze, like ghost thing. Where
Okay. Let me. That seems really productive.
Yeah.
I think that would go really well.
Did you ever humiliate yourself in this class?
I feel like I do every day. Literally. Yeah, I'm very self-conscious about my throwing because I'm just not that great. I've gotten a lot better, but I hate being a beginner in things. I really do.
That is such a well-statement. I hate also being a beginner.
Yeah, it all kind of is like physical labor-y, and that always like makes me uncomfortable and nervous. And so that was like a challenge that I kind of had to work through. You're gonna like smack it down. That's not a smack. I mean, like, yeah. Like if you're driving a car, Liv. You can go a little faster. Yeah, a little faster. And then you can take your foot off the wheel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, try it. Like giving it a reference point, kind of.
Okay, I see.
And you want it down, and then wrong way. And so the clay should be moving, and your hand shouldn't be. I'm trying to get this as centered as possible because it'll make it easier for you to do. Why are you touching it again? And I would go slow for this part.
Right.
Slow on the wheel. Not that slow. And we're gonna have to level and bevel it.
Can I keep doing it?
Uh-huh. It's beautiful. So the inside hand is bracing and the outside hand is pulling. So I would be careful about pulling in there, yeah, because that might happen. That's what we call
What do you call this?
abstract expressionism. So, you're an artist.
Okay, I need to get rid of this. I'm
Okay.
humiliated. I'm surrounded by artists.
For serving me the
Happily,
pie
of course. Can I have
spoon.
your plate?
Certainly.
Yeah. So, just like some first impressions, if anyone wants to start, about meeting someone and then really only hearing these portions of their lives and their fears and humiliations. Any thoughts on that? Or any first thoughts?
I feel like it's a part of the identity that either you learn much later or sometimes you don't really learn at all. And so, unless it's like, brought up by some scenario or you ask that specific question, there's like a lot of memories in there that are kind of just like ingrained in your identity and you don't necessarily think to share or like people don't think to ask about. And so I think it's really cool to kind of like flip the upside down cake and and get to like see that first and then have this like kind of core to start building a picture of someone from.
Sam, if you want to speak to that book you were talking about, I think that'd be an interesting conversation.
It was like a life-changing read for me. But the book is called Humiliation. The author is Wayne Kostenbaum. And so something that he introduces right at the very beginning is his sort of definition for what humiliation is. And he sort of starts off by saying that humiliation is separate from shame. Shame is something that you harbor within yourself, and it's something that can fester. And humiliation requires three parties. It requires the humiliated, the humiliator, and spectators. And the spectator one was like the really interesting thing for me. At the point where shame becomes humiliation is when there are people there to see all of the stories that we talked about that have an instance of somebody, either somebody significant to you or a large group of people. Like the more people, the sort of the higher intensity the humiliation gets. But I also think having this conversation with people that you don't know is an equalizing experience in that way. I don't know, I was also just like a little bit nervous because I'm not like proud of all the stories that I listed off, but then like sitting and listening to everybody else generated this feeling of like, right, obviously other people have had like scenarios in which they experienced the same thing that I did. And I don't walk around enough thinking about other people's experiences. I think that can solve a lot of problems in the world.
We touched each other's humanity much more quickly than would otherwise be the case. Our age differences really didn't make a difference. That the power of sharing is really pretty remarkable, and I hadn't anticipated that at all.
Just something that I was thinking about with both of your stories about humiliation, yours with the church pageant and yours with the falling, because both of those had an instance of like a crowd, but also then like the particular that like played a role in the story before that moment of humiliation occurred. What would be more humiliating if like that same situation were to happen just in front of that crowd of people and like that one extra person wasn't there, or if it was just that one person that had to like experience what was happening to you?
You like really hit the nail on the head, and it was like way more about that one person like experiencing this moment with me more than the crowd, and that them experiencing the crowd, it's kind of like if they feel humiliated for you, that adds like a whole nother level of humiliation on top of that, which is interesting. Like what is embarrassment and what is shame, and like when does embarrassment or humiliation become shame? Something embarrassing usually is something that I can like talk through or tell as an anecdote, and like the laughing kind of diffuses it, and you can like share it with these people. Anytime that I have felt shame, it's been so silencing. If I'm really ashamed, it's because I felt like I've not been true to my character, or like something about my character will be misperceived in the world because of like this thing I did, and it's something that I really internalize and like can't really share with people. And so I wonder like what the power of sharing shame can be.
A ceremonious cheers
Right.
to good health and more humiliation and fear.
And talking about it.
Yes, and talking about it.
Talking about it,
Chin,
yes.
chin.
To conversation.
To conversation.